All right, let's talk about what is, without a doubt, one of the biggest showdowns in tech history. You've got the reigning champ, Google, squaring off against the disruptive new challenger, OpenAI. But, this is so much more than just two companies fighting it out. It's a perfect, almost textbook case study of this classic theory about why great, dominant companies, well, why they sometimes fail. So, let's get into it.
First thing you have to get about Silicon Valley is that it's not really built on products, not at its core. It's built on really powerful arguments about the future. The companies that truly change the world, they don't just sell you a thing. They sell you a whole vision, a thesis for how the world is supposed to work.
And that thesis, that big idea, it almost always follows this specific four-part logic. Think of it like a recipe, or a syllogism if you want to get fancy, for building a legendary company. And we're going to use this simple but super powerful framework to break down this entire conflict.
Okay, so the 4 steps are pretty simple, but they are absolutely essential. First, you've got to identify a massive problem. Second, you build a totally new kind of product to solve it. Third, and this is the magic part, you get that explosive product market fit where it just clicks with millions of people. And finally, number 4, you figure out a way to monetize it, to actually build a business around it. Let's see what that looks like in the real world.
And really, there is no better example of this 4-step plan done perfectly than Google. I mean, its original mission is arguably the most successful and profitable thesis ever executed. Ever. In the entire history of tech.
So let's start with step 1, the problem. For anyone who remembers the internet in the late 90s, it was just a chaotic mess. It was this amazing, incredible new thing, but trying to find anything useful, nearly impossible. It was total information anarchy.
And Google's product, its PageRank algorithm, wasn't just a slightly better search engine. No, it was a philosophical breakthrough. The genius of it was realizing that the web's own link structure could tell you what was important. It was kind of like what Steve Jobs called a bicycle for the mind. It just made all of us smarter by organizing all that knowledge. And the result of that? The most insane product market fit you can possibly imagine. That clean, simple page and its scarily accurate results just spread by word of mouth like wildfire. It didn't just become popular, it became a utility, a basic part of life. So much so that its name literally became a verb. We don't search, we Google.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the masterstroke, making money. Google's ad machine was pure genius. They came up with this quality score that made sure ads were actually relevant to what you were searching for. So suddenly, everyone's interests were aligned. We got useful links, advertisers reached people who were actually interested, and Google built an empire by monetizing human curiosity on a global scale. A perfect 4-part syllogism.
Okay, now let's switch gears and look at the challenger. Because OpenAI comes onto the scene with a totally different logic, almost flipped on its head.
OpenAI didn't start with a practical problem like the internet is messy. No, its mission was way more abstract, almost philosophical, to make sure that artificial general intelligence, or AGI, helps everybody. So they weren't trying to solve the problem of finding stuff. They were tapping into this much deeper human desire for synthesis, for creation, for just having a conversation.
And its product, ChatGPT, is a perfect reflection of that mission. It's a conversation. It completely bypasses Google's iconic 10 blue links. Think about that. Instead of giving you a list of websites to go research yourself, it just gives you one single synthesized answer. It's a completely different way of getting information.
And the product market fit? Whoa. It was absolutely colossal. ChatGPT got to 100 million users in just 2 months. That's the fastest adoption for a consumer app in history. It proved there was this massive, hidden demand for a new way of doing things that maybe no one, not even Google, really saw coming.
But, and this is a huge but, this is where OpenAI's grand thesis just hits a brick wall. Monetization. It is a giant, blinking, unresolved question mark. The tech costs a fortune to run. We're talking billions. And right now, their subscription model feels more like a way to fund the research than a real, sustainable business.
So let's just put these two side by side for a second. Over on the left, you have Google's perfect, unbreakable chain of logic. Problem, product, fit, monetization. Boom. On the right, you have OpenAI, with 3 incredibly strong links and 1 glaring, critical, missing piece. A clear way to make money.
So, what happens when these two powerful but very different models smash into each other? Well, you get a textbook case of disruption, and it's framed perfectly by a really famous theory from business school.
It's called the innovator's dilemma. And the basic idea is that the very things that make a company huge and successful, its customers, its profit machine, the way it does things, can become a trap. A trap that stops it from embracing a new technology that could completely upend its entire business.
And this is exactly what's happening right now. Google is perfectly designed to serve its real customers, which are advertisers. OpenAI, on the other hand, is offering something new to users: convenience, direct answers. For Google to go all in on AI search, it would mean risking the very advertising business that built it into a titan. And that, right there, is the trap. I mean, just think about this for a second. The single most important user action that powers Google's entire empire, you scanning a list of links and clicking on one, is the very thing that this new kind of AI is designed to make totally unnecessary.
And all of this leads us to this fundamental, maybe even existential challenge for one of the most powerful and successful companies in the history of the world. So here's the question that defines this whole new era of tech. The innovator's dilemma has taken down countless giants over the years. So, can Google, the ultimate innovator of its day, somehow defy history and reinvent itself for the age of AI? Or is it simply trapped by the beautiful perfection of its own machine?